This week's project, we're gonna be working in our living room. We're gonna take our builder grade fireplace and transform it into this. A beautiful lime and marble plastered covered brick fireplace with a restored antique wooden mantle. Let's get into it. Pull your trigger. I love to overcut crown. Houston, we got a problem. So we ended up finding a vintage fireplace mantle. It's made out of wood. We're gonna get it set up here. We're gonna whitewash this brick, use some plaster on this, and we'll see how all this goes together. Houston, we got a problem. We have a couple issues. Number one, it's too tall, so I think we're gonna have to take some height off these legs. And the bigger issue is, as you can see, our gas valve for our propane starter is covered up. So we're probably gonna have to put a notch in that, I think. But I think it's still doable. What do you think, babe? You like it?
I like it.
All right, so we're gonna hack it up a little bit. We got the mantle outside. We need to do a little bit of adjustment on it. It's a little too tall, so we're gonna take off 5 inches from the bottom right here, and then we have to open the width up for their actual fireplace box. So I just mixed up some grout. We had this left over from our laundry room. I put all these these are called soldiers, so they're gonna be vertical bricks going across right in the inlay for the mantle. So hopefully this grout works to hold these on, and then we're gonna finish the top of the whole fireplace with some plaster, so that'll hold it on as well. We got all the bricks up for the inlay on the new mantle. Now what we're gonna try and do is lay out some as plaster. And we've never done this before, so we're gonna see how it goes. Oh, that's white.
The dry is different.
Oh yeah.
Oh my.
We got our second bucket. I made this a little bit thicker. The first sample batch was a little thin, but I did a little practice run. That's gonna be behind the new mantle. So I think I kind of got the technique we're looking for. This is gonna look like we cleaned it the best we could.
Yeah.
And we really focused on cleaning just the soldiers
Yeah.
because they're going to be exposed in the mantle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Here we go. So it's the next day and the plaster is completely dry. So now we're gonna get our mantle back up here, make sure everything mocks up good, take a look at it and see if you like the color. So it mocked up perfectly. As you can see, these soldier bricks we did vertical fit perfectly inside this inset on the old mantle. But because the marble plaster that we use is pretty white, it's just like a pure white, the mantle is a little dark for our liking. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna take the mantle out to the shop and we're gonna try some paint stripper and then possibly stain it down, just see where that takes us. We really would like this to be more of a blonde or more natural wood color since the plaster turned out such a stark white. So out to the shop. So for stripping this thing down, we're gonna try two different options. We have a paint stripper or lacquer stripper. This strips everything. You paint this on, you leave it for you leave it for 15 to 30 minutes, and then you apparently can just wipe all the finishes off. The second option we have, and we're probably gonna use a combination of both, is sanding disc. This is for an orbital sander. This is kind of a new sanding pad that Diablo has out. It's more of a mesh kind of, it's weird. It's almost like a screen. These are 80 grits. Apparently these work and last really well, and it comes with a little hook and loop adapter for a normal orbital sander. So this is gonna be the first time trying this setup. I'm hoping that you get a lot more life out of this screen sanding pad versus the old school ones, because as you guys know, these sanding discs do not last very long and they are pricey. The coolest part about doing projects like this is you can find this stuff pretty cheap. And because normally they used to build stuff a lot better, you know, you get in the time frame of, 100 or 80 years old, the quality of material, even the wood is like so much better quality. It's denser, it's tighter grain, it's less knotty, it looks better even. So I bought this mantle used, obviously it was reclaimed. I think we paid like 40 bucks for it. Putting like a Hobby Lobby finish on it is what me and my wife joke about. So I'm excited to see how this turns out. So we're about 15 minutes in. They say you can scrape a lot of this off. So if we can at least get that poly coat on the top off, then we can hit it with the sanding paper and it'll just go that much quicker. It seems to be scraping out pretty good. That's kind of how it's coming off now. Just little chunks of whatever was on there. So the stripper's working pretty good in the small cracks and crevices, but it's taking a little bit longer than I would like. So what we're gonna do, get out the sandpaper and see if we can hit these flat surfaces that are easy to get to. We'll see if that makes a little bit quicker job with the sandpaper. The sanding disc worked way better than the remover or the stripper. So we stuck with that and knocked it out. It's exactly how we want it. We're gonna give it a wipe down with a damp cloth and go install it. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. That is so really pretty. Stand back and look, yeah.
Oh, it's so much better.
Isn't it pretty? It's up there temporarily and it looks awesome. The last thing we have to do is attach it. For that, we're gonna use these Tapcons. These are made for masonry attachment, for brick, concrete, whatever, but you do have to use the specialty size or specialty Tapcon drill bit. So you're gonna pre-drill your hole in the brick, and then we're gonna install these screws and it'll be perfect. Pull your trigger. So yesterday we got the mantle mounted with our masonry screws. We countersunk these for a reason. Let me show you why. I want to be able to fill them in so I can hide them because the masonry screws are blue. This is just how they come with these Tapcon screws. So you can see that right there. What we're going to do is just an easy little trick I've learned. It's one part of each material. I have some scrap of the veneer finish that I took off the mantle originally, one part glue, and then one part sawdust that came out of my sanding bag on the sander. I'm going to mix all stuff together, and it's just going to create a putty, but it'll have the same colors as the kind of like the antique mantle looks now. Then I'll take this little piece of putty and I'll be able to fill in the screw hole. This will accomplish two things. It'll hide the screw or camouflage it pretty good, but it won't permanently cover it. So if I ever need to access a screw head to pull this mantle off for any kind of maintenance, this will be easy just to chip out with like a nail or a pocket knife or something like that. We're just gonna put it right over the screw head. Should camouflage itself pretty good, just like that. So that's done and secure. The last thing we have to fix is this horrible gap up at the top between our fireplace and our ceiling. For that, we're gonna use some crown and we're gonna try and match it to the mantle as well. So let's head to the shop and make that happen. So for the crown, we're gonna use a piece of yellow pine crown molding. This is plain, unprimed, so what we have to accomplish now is try and match it to the antique sanded mantle. We're gonna try a couple different techniques and hopefully we can get it close. So this is the yellow pine sitting right up against one of the sections I cut off the old mantle. So this is what we're trying to get the yellow pine to look like, and then we'll sand it down. Hopefully it'll match. To do that, I'm gonna use some special walnut. This is a dark brown, kind of looks like this, and then we're gonna use some gunstock stain as well. This will throw in some of those kind of red hues to it. And then we'll also throw in some of this resin. This is the stuff I removed when I stripped the original mantle. So I'm gonna mix this with some lacquer thinner, and this will give me kind of that dark accent painted parts for the grooves in this trim. And then when we sand it off, hopefully this dark stuff will be left behind, and we'll get it matching pretty good. And I am gonna distress or stain this entire piece before I cut it for the trim. So once it's all done and looks how we want it, then we'll cut the crown. And another trick to try and get everything to blend, we're gonna use the same rag that we wiped off all the stain with off the original piece. So hopefully this will kind of start getting wet and it'll leave some of that colored residue behind. But you can see the special walnut's looking pretty good. I'm gonna wipe it off just a little bit. And then we're gonna go right on top with the gunstock. This gunstock definitely has some of that red in it. And a lot of that red hue is some of your more popular older stains people used. That's pretty good there. And we'll just start kind of wiping this stuff off. We got both stains on and halfway wiped off. We're gonna hit it with a sandpaper and just kind of see where we're at on the look. So we're kind of close. We're gonna take some of this resin from the old mantle, and then we're just gonna kind of hit some of these light spots that we just sanded, and we'll see how that turns out. But it looks like it's taken pretty good on the worn spots. It's pretty good. Let's try another technique. This is a propane torch, so let's try and burn it and just see if we can get some of those dark crevices. So a lot of times if you sand it and it gets a little too light, you can just go back over those pieces and burn it a little bit, and that'll give it a little more character. To me, I think the best way to do this and the most success I've had with this is just a lot of different variations of color and wear. So you just keep on working with it, and eventually you'll stand back and it's like, oh, okay, that kind of does look old. All right, I think that is gonna be pretty close. Let's take it inside and see how it looks. I would say that is a pretty close match. All right, let's cut some crown. And I swear it feels like every time I do this, I have to relearn it because I don't do it often enough. The technique that I found to be pretty easy is to set your crown upside down on your fence right here and on your bed of your saw. And you look at the edges and you make sure that it is sitting flush with the top and the bottom, the 45-degree cuts on the bottom of on the crown. Once that is sitting flush all the way across your fence of your saw, and everything is touching where it should be, then I'll take a marker and draw a reference line on the back of my fence. This way, when I hold the other pieces up there, I can make sure they all hit the same mark. So I'm gonna go to the opposite end of my piece that I'm using, hold it up, and we're gonna make our first cut. Now like I said, I love to overcut crown and take it off piece by piece as I work my way into the wall. So this is why I overcut. For some reason right here, I don't know if I lifted too fast or dropped too fast, but I had a little piece of tear out. You can see that whole little corner tore out. But I have plenty of room to recut this, and we won't use up all our material. Now we're going to cut the short adjoining piece going back to the wall. This is the cutoff angle I need, and we measured it out for a 4-inch piece. It's a little fat, that way I can assemble this as a 3-piece crown unit, and then I'll trim it to fit back flush against the wall. All right, so our crown is cut to length perfectly, double check that. Now there's a million different ways to do this, but because I'm going over brick and it's very inconsistent, what I like to do is glue my crown pieces together first. All right, so here's the final piece. We're gonna get there and nail it up top with a couple brad nails. Hopefully she fits up good. That completes another DIY fireplace project and a first for us. We love how this lime and marble plaster came out, and all the links for the product used in this video to create this beautiful masterpiece will be in the description below. You guys go check it out, like and subscribe, and we will see you next week for another project.